it's important to face your fears and to really tackle the things that you don't want to forget.
Face, yep.
You have to face your true self and the parts of you that you think that shouldn't be a part of you because they're too evil or something. It's like, no, face that. That is a part of you, but use it as a strength. Use it as overcome it. Subdue it. Don't just ignore it.
You have to get to a point of those stages of grief that lead to the acceptance before you can really use that experience as a launching point to become a better version of yourself, to move forward with your life, to become a stronger person. What's up? Welcome back to the State of the Arc podcast. My name is Mike.
My name is Kason.
And we are joined once again by TJ the Emperor.
Hello, glad to be back.
I know, seriously, it's good to have you back.
Yeah.
We've been kind of winging it ourselves here for a little bit, and we've been holding our own, I think, but before we actually get started talking about where we left off last point, because this week's content is like really insane. And I specifically really wanted to have TJ back for this part because it's as dense as it gets, even for a Xeno game. This whole sequence we're going to be talking about. A couple things going through, like the comments on some of the last few videos. So I just want to clarify one thing specifically, because people are still saying, I wish you guys would check the
the database. Yeah.
And so I just want to clarify, like when we bring up questions, at least this is the case for me.
Sometimes it's rhetorical.
Typically, it's not something I had a question about while note taking. It's a question that comes up like during our discourse,
like right now.
We're discussing it, and it's like, oh yeah, I
never
think
thought
about that.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I will typically go back to the database and look for that piece of information afterward, and then. But what I haven't been as good at doing recently is, I think I did this like 2 or 3 episodes ago, where I dedicated the beginning of the podcast to like clarifying or like correcting ourselves.
Oh, yes.
But I haven't done that like the last 2 times.
No.
So I want to do that now on a couple of key things. So 100 series Realians.
There are lots of them.
They are actually what we see on board the Durandal, for instance.
Right.
And what is with... what were you going to say, TJ?
No, I was going to say, like, that's one of the things that I'd forgotten about that I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Momo is the prototype, and because she's the prototype, she's maybe more special, but, like, all those other ones that look like her, they're all 100 series as well. Right,
including the one that is following Albedo around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So although that may not be the same one each time.
Based on something we saw here. I wonder if we'll get to that.
Which may not be.
But
we don't know.
Those are all 100 series Realians, and the reason that they have them on board ships like the Durandal, or they were supposed to be aboard the Woglinde, but they weren't, was so that they could do their localized Hilbert effects when Gnosis attack, and then the soldiers shooting guns would actually be useful.
Right.
Because they would have been brought into this reality. So the problem with the Woglinde was that the 100 series were not, I don't know, like they weren't properly supplied for that mission.
It was a very quickly assembled fleet, is I believe what the script said, because like the planet disappeared, and then they basically just had to get a fleet out right away to investigate, so they didn't have time to outfit the ship as they would have normally. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Good to know.
So that is the reason why all the soldiers were trying to shoot their guns on the Woglinde, but there was no. I mean, it's still kind of pointless if you realize you don't have 100 series.
At some point, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Exactly. But that's why like most ships in a situation like that would have 100 series Realians on them. On top of Momo being a prototype for that, and her being special because she's a prototype, the other reason, the main reason why she's special is because she holds the Y data, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what Margulis and Utic are after is the Y data, and she's got that. Plus, I think they also mentioned the entirety of Yoki Mizrahi's research is in her.
That's correct. Yeah, it's everyone more or less is focusing like most people are focusing on she knows where the original Zohar is, but it's everything that Mizrahi researched throughout his entire career is in her head.
Because is it correct to say that Mizrahi built all of the emulators, right?
Yes,
all 12.
Yeah, they were from. Yeah, he did that. Yeah.
So it's like if the government wanted to do anything, they have to have his mind. Like they have to access what he knew and all of his research papers.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So like ostensibly perhaps how to create more emulators would be in the Y data
if they need them. I don't know.
If they need them, right. Yeah, you'd think.
Do you need like 1 million? I don't know.
I don't know.
1 million. Everyone gets their own emulator.
Well, isn't that what pink-haired Neo was saying to Margulis? Was like, none of these things are sufficient anyways. Like we need the original.
You can't pull it off without the original, right?
Right. So the other thing somebody in the comments was saying was that so this was a back and forth between two people. I don't know if one of them understood correctly, so we have TJ here.
Uh-oh.
They were saying there's only 12 Zohar emulators. And the 13th is not. It's the original, but it's not the original. Not the one that's on board the Durandal anyways.
Well, I didn't know that there was one there. I thought that there was a space for one, but I didn't know if it contained one or not.
Yeah, so the Marian Kind is the 13th Zohar emulator, but apparently
okay. All right.
Mizrahi didn't make that one. Is that right, TJ?
I was always of the understanding that there were 12 emulators, and the Marian Kind space in the Durandal was meant for the original once they found it. I could be wrong about that, but that's always what I've understood.
So they are a different color. Like if you look in the scene, like the rest of them are gold, and then one of them. So what you're saying is that's an empty slot. That there's nothing. It's an
empty slot. And once it will be filled when and if they get their hands on the original.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there are only 12 emulators.
Only 12 plus the 13th will be filled with the original when and if they find it.
Correct. Yes.
Got it. Okay, so I think those were the major sort of things to correct on our end from previous episodes. But I just wanted to bring up, like, I do go check the database when I'm playing and I have a question, or after a podcast is over and there's additional questions. It's not like I'm ignoring it completely and then just been like, oh, I have these questions and I'll just keep having them forever.
Yeah.
And so anyways, like, we're doing our best as far as that goes, but talking about Xeno games takes a lot of research and effort, and you're not always going to hit every point that you want to.
Yes.
So we're doing the best we can, and for anything that continue, of course, to leave comments and correct us on certain things. Just know that, like, we are checking the database. It's just sometimes questions get brought up while we're sitting here. It's not like we had that question in the notes and then didn't go look it up. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right, let's actually jump into this.
Okay.
So we basically left off with Momo and Junior having a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives her like a bullet, like it's an antique bullet, and she's using it as like a charm.
A good luck charm, yeah.
And he uses his power to like fuse the chain onto it for some reason. I thought that was kind of
wore
interesting.
Him out too. That was hard work. Whew.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he decided, I guess, to show his, because aren't they concerned about showing their powers? They don't want people like know they have them.
Yeah,
is that right, TJ?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they were. Well, because Guinan was like, when he was talking about Shion, he was like, I think she might be onto us and their powers.
Right.
Exactly.
So you would think, but that doesn't necessarily imply that they're trying to hide them. It's just she might know. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or maybe Junior just trusts Momo with what he's doing. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think given what we learn here pretty soon about who these characters are, Junior and Gagnon and Albedo and everything, that there'd probably be good reason to want to hide who and what they are based on the Life Recycling Act and everything like that. So that being the case, I found it interesting that he would have purposefully kind of shown off that power to Momo. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe that's a setup for something. I don't know if it's important or not.
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen it as like just, Junior, he has some sort of like, affection, friendship, more than that for Momo. And that's like his way of showing like as a sign of trust, like, oh, I'm going to give you this and I'm going to show you this thing. And this is the thing I can do. Right. I don't think it's meant to be anything, more important than that.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so after that scene ends, we get a long sequence that, like, more or less, I'll just kind of sum this up as briefly as I can. It sets up how powerful the UTIC organization is. I think that's the purpose of this sequence, to show that they have a lot of people in the Foundation.
Yeah, in the government.
That are corrupt, right?
Right.
Yeah, they have a lot of people in the Foundation and then the Galaxy Federation government, the government and the military. Everywhere. Yeah.
Right. So
they're parasites.
They're kind of showing here how far-reaching their influence is in governments and things like that, right? So their attack, by there I mean UTIC's attack on the Foundation ship, the Durandal, earlier that we saw, right, that was fended off. This was recorded while the attack was happening for the purpose of doctoring it to make it look like the Durandal attacked Federation ships instead of UTIC ships.
Specifically, it was the Woglinde that was attacked.
Yeah.
They're framing it so that the Durandal was the one that sunk the Woglinde.
Right. To mask or hide, I would assume, whatever role the Gnosis might have had in that, or the Zohar emulator, or anything like that. Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, were you going to say something?
I was thinking also maybe just to take some of the power away from the Kukai Foundation. Kukai Foundation is really powerful, and especially since Junior stumbled upon some mess of operation happening at that original site. It's kind of like they're preempting it. They're like, okay, before you get us in trouble for what we're doing, we're going to get you in trouble. You know, it's a very, it's politics, right?
Yeah.
And
also,
it's politics that makes this is what happens. This is how it happens. This happens every day in the real world, where it's like, I got caught. I better imprison you first and blame you first, and then when you blame me, it'll sound like you're just covering for yourself.
Yeah. And from a pragmatic standpoint, the Kukai Foundation now also has Momo and the Y data, so they have a vested interest of like capturing them, like getting them under their control and taking that back for themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main goal here is to get Momo and I think KOS-MOS away from.
Yeah, KOS-MOS. Yeah. The Zohars probably.
The Zohars
especially.
Yeah. They want everything.
It's almost like the Kukai Foundation has all the chips right now.
They
and
do,
UTIC is like, we can't let them have all the chips for long.
As far as we know, they kind of do have all the chips right now. So
right, exactly.
So anyways, this is a long scene. You have Federation ships, because they go to second Miltia, right? Which is their destination. A bunch of Federation ships show up. So as we established earlier, second Miltia has its own government that's separate from the Galaxy Federation.
Right, yeah.
So Federation ships showing up at the home planet of the second Miltian government and being like, no, these people cannot land here.
Yeah.
We're like confiscating all of their cargo. And so this leads to like a big sort of like council meeting where you got like the second Miltia representative. What's his name? Helmer?
That's right, Helmer.
And of course, Yuli Mizrahi is on this kind of call, and then you got like a bunch of representatives, I would guess, from all different sectors of Galaxy Federation space.
It's basically a meeting of the Galaxy Federation Parliament, like an emergency meeting of that.
Right. Yeah. And they're all trying to determine, like, what should we do about this? Who's at fault? The doctored footage is shown in this session. And so it's made out to seem like the Kukai Foundation and possibly their connection to the Second Miltian government is leading to some sort of rebellion against the Galaxy Federation or coming war. That they mentioned specifically that Kukai was supposed to be, what was the term, like, hold on, I have it written down here, let me just check.
There's like a disarmament.
Disarmament.
Yeah, they were supposed to be disarmed.
Right.
Yeah.
And the power that the Durandal itself has in terms of its firepower is alarming.
Yeah, because they were able to, UTIC gathered footage of the Durandal defending itself against them, and as when that all happened a couple episodes ago, and that was funny because they used that footage then to make it seem like the Durandal attacked the Woglinde and something else. But also at the same time, I don't know who knew the power of the Durandal and what it was capable of doing. It sounds like the Federation was very surprised by what the Durandal was able to do, and they're like, wait, they have a very powerful weapon here.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to have this, right? And if they have it, they're not supposed to use it. And they did both. They have it and they used it. So now we have to sanction them and take away all their stuff.
Well, the interesting part to me here was that part of the reason why the Kukai Foundation and Second Miltia, I guess in turn, are the ones investigating the disaster from Old Miltia, which caused this whole crisis in the first place.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the reason why they're allowed to seek out and safeguard the Zohars in the first place was because of this disarmament agreement.
They were supposed to be like a neutral party or something like that, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And so now that they've displayed this enormous firepower, it's kind of like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
If you have the Zohars and you have weapons that are that powerful, that combination is not good. And we're taking the Zohars away from you now, is basically what this is all about. Of course, this is all staged by UTIC because what they're really after is the Y data in Momo. Probably, of course, we said the Zohar emulators because they're trying to find...
KOS-MOS and all that,
What is the name of the gate again, TJ?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the gate...
the UMN
Yeah, the
gate?
the UMN gate that leads to Old Miltia.
To Old Miltia.
Because Old Miltia is where the original Zohar is sealed away.
Right.
And that's what's in the Y data, or that's one of the things that's in the Y data.
Right. Also, having KOS-MOS is a nice thing as well. So, given what she can do
who knows? Yeah, who knows what's inside her? You know.
Yeah.
Exactly. She might have a heart.
she might. So it's a long scene, but it's basically setting up that. I think we've more or less sort of gotten at the heart of what that scene is about and what the stakes are here, right?
So the Federation ships show up, right, and they just put everything on lockdown. And the Kukai Foundation can't, because I was thinking for a second, I was like, is there going to be a fight? Are they going to resist? Are they going to fight back?
Right.
And really, Gagnon and Kukai, or Gagnon and Junior, are both like, we can't fight back.
They surrender willingly,
Exactly. They surrender willingly. Yeah, and so because of that, the Federation shows up, and this whole Inquisition was led by a woman named Lapis Roman.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Lapis Roman is probably a reference to Lapis Niger in ancient Rome.
Yep.
It had a black stone block at the center and was an ancient religious relic shrouded in mystery. It had black marble floors, and today it has been fairly well preserved. It's more than 2,500 years old. I don't know exactly what this is saying about her, but that's the reference for her name.
Right.
So, anyways,
again,
she shows up.
It's impossible to know in Xenogames whether the names are actually meaningful or they're just cool things.
That was true in Nier as well. Yeah, in Nier, they would name things that just weren't relevant.
Oh, yeah.
But
like
anyways.
the author of Pinocchio.
Or Wendy and all that stuff. Peter So anyways, she ends up imprisoning everybody. And this is so funny because my initial thought when she imprisoned everyone in the same room all together, and the soldiers bring it up. They're like, really? You don't want to separate them? And she's like, no, just put them all in the same room and leave them there. It's fine. And the soldiers don't really question her. So she has that high authority.
Right.
I was thinking, that's a crazy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who deals with...
you separate the prisoners.
You always separate hostages, prisoners, all that stuff. Because separated, what is it? divide and conquer, right? So you win if you can separate them. If you allow them to unify, they're going to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do then? And so my initial thought was possibly that she might actually be a double agent.
Yep.
And I was like, there's no way. And I think it was a half joke. I was like, as a half joke thought, where I was like, dude, but I thought that it was, the game developers are being dumb. This is only a double agent would do this. Anyways, it was actually really good. I loved the way that it all turned out. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, we've talked about prison escape sequences in the past on this podcast.
Yeah.
And how they're usually not very good.
Yeah.
This one felt pretty plausible because of this character, Baptiste Roman character, and her role. There was only one part of it where I was like, yeah, and we'll get to that note later, so I won't say it now. Okay. There's only one part of what she does that makes me think, like, okay, maybe that wasn't as well thought through as I thought it was going to be based on her being involved. But I really liked how she was set up as a double agent for Second Miltia. So she's really working for Helmer. She's for years been spying on the Galaxy Federation as what is her title specifically? What is her what is her office in the military?
I think she's a captain.
Captain or
something like
commander,
that.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, she's pretty high ranking.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'll get into more details on that in a second. But there's one scene I took a note on here with Wilhelm. I think we mentioned last time that Wilhelm was the CEO of Vector, and that does it happen now or did it happen before? Where he says he's going to loan KOS-MOS to Guignan for his use for like the foreseeable future. I think it happens here, doesn't it?
I don't recall.
Here. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, he's speaking with the hooded figure, I think, in the scene. He calls
the like priestly, like
no. Sorry, my note says Wilhelm, who was speaking to the hooded man
in the red cloak, right?
So because we hadn't seen Wilhelm in a while.
It's kind of
He talks to Guinan first, and then he talks to Helmer. If this is the scene I'm thinking of,
Yes. So he calls Helmer up, and he tells him that he's dispatching the Dämmerung, which is a German word for twilight. Not sure if there's a reason. For
I can tell you. I can tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, no. You do it first, TJ.
Okay. So I was gonna say it's the German word for twilight. Yes. But specifically in this case, it's a reference to the fourth part of Wagner's Ring Cycle, Götterdämmerung. Which translates to Twilight of the Gods.
Yep.
And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Kaysen.
Yes, it's just, I love what it references. So Twilight of the Gods is basically a reference to Old Norse Ragnarok, right? It is a reference to the end of the timeline and the death of the gods, right? So the Twilight of the Gods means that the gods are fading, right? And so you can look at it, if you look at it in Nietzschean terms, you would say that mankind is rising, or the Übermensch is rising, and the gods are falling, right? And so Götterdämmerung is something along the lines of get rid of the gods and whatever else. So this also comes from the Ring of Nibelungen, right? And that's where the Rhine Maidens come from as well, of whose name one is Woglinde. And the ring, which subdues and controls the Zohar, the sought item that eludes them, and the item that they are looking for in the Ring of Nibelungen is the reason why the gods die. Like, they're looking for this ring, they can't get it, it evades their capture, and they just fade into obscurity. Right. Or they die. Anyways, it's really good stuff, but it's a great battle, actually. It's just like Ragnarok, but the end of the world.
If you wanted to use a Norse term, the ship would be called Ragnarok.
It could be called Ragnarok. You could say they mean similar things.
It's equivalent.
It's the end of the gods.
Okay, gotcha. So he's talking to Helmer here. He concludes that given the circumstances, Utik is after the original Zohar and Udu.
Yes.
I think there's probably like 3 or 4 instances during this sequence where they very ominously utter the name
Udu. Not Udu. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Which just sounds really funny.
It does.
It reminds me of this old 1940s black and white drama I used to watch, where this guy talks about, you remind me of a man with the power of hoodoo. Hoodoo?
You do. Remind me of what?
I do
Remind
what?
me of a man.
Exactly. That's good stuff. But hoodoo, it's like a voodoo, you-do. I don't know exactly what they're going with this.
I don't either.
Hoodoo,
I was
don't get it.
hoping either of you would know if that was a reference to anything at
I didn't
all.
really look it up. Maybe you could tell me.
I know what it means.
I know without spoiling.
I can't say anything without spoiling it. No.
All right.
Of course, because I figured you know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't find any references. It's too short of a word to be anything. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. We've kind of talked about this in the past too. The use of the hyphens in some of these all capital names like KOS-MOS. It's Udo, but it's U-Tick, but they both start with that letter U. So I'm guessing, and U-Tick seems to want the original Zohar and access to Udo. At least it seems that way to me at the moment. Or no, wait, were they the ones who said there's no way we can allow Udo to be reawakened? I think that was
something
Gagnon
like
who
that.
said
It was
that
something like
to
that.
Helmer.
Yeah, it was. It was. It wasn't
can't.
U-Tick that said that. It was either Guinan or. I think it was Guinan, yeah.
Pretty sure Gagnon and Helmer were saying that in their conversation earlier.
It was, yeah. That's the one, yeah.
Okay.
So they're afraid U-Tick is going to awaken Udo by going after the original Zohar. I guess I don't know, or I'm inferring, but I don't know for certain that U-Tick wants to awaken Udo. But the fact that they have a U in their organization name leads me to think that Udo has something to do with their ideology.
Oh, interesting.
But that's just a guess on my part.
Okay. Well, gosh, I have no idea.
I mean, I could be wrong because it's pronounced Udo, but then U-Tick, so maybe they have nothing to do with each other. But I don't know. Couldn't help but notice that they both start with a capital letter U and a hyphen. So it is what it is. Then we have Wilhelm telling Helmer to pass a message to Gagnon. This is where he says it. That they will lend KOS-MOS to him to use as he sees fit for the time being. It's still some time before the Zohar project commences, Wilhelm says.
Wilhelm, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some kind of Zohar project that Vector is involved in. So we have we have a lot of organizations.
Yeah, Vector hasn't been involved much lately.
Vector seems to be pulling a lot of strings though.
Yes.
Because we've got Margulis and U-Tick as our de facto villains that are, at least that's how it's presented to us currently.
Right. But there's other powers vying, and
Vector seems to have their hands in a lot of what's going on.
Yes.
Even if they're not necessarily framed as villains, they're always sort of involved maybe in the background somewhere.
Yeah. I get the sense that they're the ones really kind of to watch out for. There's something about them that's unsettling to me.
I had a thought as I was editing this last podcast, because I posed the question in general, who is Junior connected to that's the Kaiser that he's sending his thoughts back and forth.
That was one other note.
Okay, let me bring that up for a second.
Okay, please do, because Kaiser Wilhelm, right? World War I.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, but the Kaiser is supposed to be Guinan. You had mentioned that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm casting suspicion on Wilhelm needlessly.
It's not Wilhelm, no. But I can see why because I didn't even think of the Kaiser Wilhelm connection. Yeah, I can see why you'd make that. But no, it's
Kaiser's a German word, and so it's I've noticed they're dividing people into camps. There's the Jewish people, there's the Southern European people, there's the German names. The names are all relevant. And they all represent different groups.
With that? Have they been consistent with using German names with this organization / these types of, or has it just been kind of all over the place?
That's a great question. I believe
it was
that
kind of all over the place.
Okay, yeah.
I'll say one other thing about the whole Kaiser thing. I don't know if it happens here or not, and this isn't a spoiler, but there are scenes where the two of them communicate telepathically.
Yes, I noticed that. I just did not know at any point that Guinan was referred to as the Kaiser. So I assumed there was another person.
He's not referred to as the Kaiser for the rest of the series, interestingly
enough. Great.
So great.
I
don't know why they called him that in that one scene, but there you go.
Well, that's not confusing at all.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
It's everything in this game is very, very clear.
Yeah,
and
very
not
straightforward.
At all confusing
Yes.
or convoluted at all.
Exactly.
Okay, so
All right,
I think that more or less wraps up
Yes.
that part. So we come back to Lapis Roman. So she comes in now, basically revealing who she really is to them, right?
Yeah, she's like, I'm a double agent, and she takes off her mask and throws her hair to the wind.
So, okay, this scene, let me just kind of wrap up as briefly as I can what goes on here. Basically, what needs to happen is the party needs some absolute proof that Durandal was not involved with the destruction of the Woglinde. Right. So they discuss a number of ways in which they might recover data that would clear their names. Right. The black box of the Woglinde, they say, but that's already been recovered, and it can be tampered with.
Yes, it's like only level 2 encrypted.
Yeah, they need what's called AAA encryption.
Yeah, triple.
In order that's the type of encryption where it would be more or less impossible for that data to be tampered with.
And it's expensive and rare, and it's not common, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, KOS-MOS has a record of the battle, and hers is a AAA encryption.
Right.
But KOS-MOS has been confiscated. She is currently not with them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Momo is, I believe, right? Momo's there with them in this scene. She's in the prison with them. I'm pretty sure she is.
I don't recall, but I think so.
Yeah, I believe so.
Can't remember.
Which I found odd. I don't know why they separated KOS-MOS, but they did not separate Momo, who they immediately want the Y data from.
KOS-MOS may have been separated because she was undergoing maintenance at the time. Maybe
and they just couldn't get to her? She is in a maintenance bed. I mean, that's where
she's
true.
That's so that's why I thought of that. So maybe like when they were arrested, she was already undergoing maintenance, so she wouldn't have been with them anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they basically have to leave and go get KOS-MOS.
Yeah.
The data from her that can be used as indisputable evidence that they did not actually attack Federation ships.
Yeah.
At all. So, but in order for them to leave, they'd have to be allowed to leave because, and this was where I thought it was a little bit funny because. They decide, okay, we got to get out, and it's like, Lapis asks Ziggy to knock her out.
Yeah,
that's the only way that it would look plausible. But then she said, "I'll just tell them we were careless." That's the part that I was like, I don't think that's going to work. It's not going to make you look less suspicious,
right?
To say, "Oops, we were careless, and I kept all of the people in the same cell." Well, the plan of I'm going to tell my superiors in the Federation that I was careless would do more to blow your cover, actually.
Jeez.
Anyway, prison escape sequences are hard, especially when they're meant to be that long in the scheme of things. Every story, it's like we got to break them out like 10 minutes after we get them in prison.
Yes, that's
to
always
keep the story going.
That always happens.
And there's not like a real elaborate, Ocean's 11 level plan.
Have you seen what's the best like prison break that you've seen in a video game?
In a video game, I was actually trying to think of this.
They're usually all bad.
They're not good
that any
almost ever.
Yeah,
but there's got to be one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there was a game I have not played. It's all about that, though. What is that game called? Okay, hold on. This is where I'm.
Well, if the whole game is prison escape, I'll bet you it's a great prison. Okay,
right.
But in a game, in a larger story,
they brought it up. It was the same guy who does Brothers, like a brother, two brothers. The same guy who develops those games. He's the guy who said F the Oscars or whatever.
Oh, Yoko Taro?
No, not Yoko Taro.
Oh, F the Oscars.
He's like a European indie game developer. Oh. A Way Out. Thank you,
Oh,
Ash.
Cool.
The game is called A Way Out.
Okay.
And
I'm sure that's got a killer one because it's all the game's about.
Yes. It seems like the rule almost is there's almost no way to make it seem plausible.
Yeah.
Or like Shawshank Redemption, for instance, right? Where it's like the whole movie is about him going to prison and trying to find a way to escape over decades.
It's almost like the reality is escaping from prison is so incredibly hard to do. And everybody knows it. Like it's obvious, like the lengths that people have gone through in like Alcatraz and places to escape are just so intense that to just do it so nonchalantly in a game is difficult to buy.
Right.
But every game does this.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the name here. Joseph Fares is from Hazel Light Studios. He's the one who makes A Way Out. And
I agree with him, though. F the Oscars.
He said that like on a live stream of the Game Awards or something like that. And,
Good for him.
Everyone was really uncomfortable. But the point is, like, I felt that for the most part, this was really well set up to have Lapis be in position to do this.
Yeah.
I just wish it hadn't resulted in, well, just knock me out and I'll say that we were careless. I wish there was like another step that she had sort of prepared that would have like made it.
Where if she had a whole team of people.
Like if she wasn't there, like she leaves and then the guards get knocked out.
Oh, that would make way more sense.
It wouldn't blow her cover.
That's true.
I mean, just that extra part. I mean, it's not even that complicated. Just that one extra step would take her plausibility or her culpability of this escape away to some degree.
Well,
but also she should not have put them all in the same room. That is suspicious in of itself.
Yeah,
it's true. I would say I look forward to seeing her again and seeing what her position.
Yeah, what happens? After this?
Yeah, because as of yet in my playthrough, I have not seen her again.
Yeah. All right. So essentially, they get out. Now, this is where the real meat begins.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, the enemy. I have to make a note that the enemy AI is really bad. First of all, it's hilarious as you're going around these people and you're just like walking them in circles and walking right behind them, and they're just like looking and it's classic. It's classic.
That's the JRPG abstraction for you.
Yes,
right? You're supposed to.
Metal Gear was the same
assume.
way. Yeah. But you know, this game's 20 years old, so I don't want to be too hard on that. It's just funny. It's very funny.
But there's kind of a long, I guess you'd call it, dungeon sequence to get down to the maintenance lab where KOS-MOS is at. And once you get here, like this
is great.
This is, I'll say, for sure up to now, but I'm going to just go on a limb and say this is the best part of the game.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't finished the game yet. I'm going to say that as a guess.
It was
for
so
now.
Cool.
This is why I play Xeno games. Sequences like this are what it's all about when it comes to the Xeno series for me. Like, there is so much to chew on here. There is so much fascinating stuff going on, but also it's not just like the content. It's also the presentation, the cosmic horror of it. Like the tone of the storytelling and the turn that it takes, the dark turn that it takes here.
Gosh, yes.
That is
absolutely
a mark of like what I love about Xeno games. And when I was playing this part, the people who were with me on Discord as I was streaming these cutscenes will attest to, I just scene after scene of me just being gobsmacked and flabbergasted, not even knowing what to say. Like, this is impossible to comment on. Like, I don't understand it, but it's so cool, and I have to sit here and discuss and talk about it, but like I don't even know where to start.
It's like you understand the depth, but you can't articulate it, and you can't like grasp it, but you get a glimpse of it. You know it's there. And you're like, I want to hold it. I want to hold this precious thing that I just found, but I don't even know. I don't even know where to find it. Like, what is this?
I can't even imagine, say, in 2001, playing this for the first time. I don't know, TJ, maybe, I haven't actually tried this. Can you pause cutscenes?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Without pausing constantly.
I was going to say, I do on the emulator. But.
Okay. To chew on, like, what they're saying, like, line by line.
Every line or two.
I don't know how you come out of this with any real grasp on what happened. It is a lot to talk about. So, without going on with too much more preamble, let's just like actually get into this. So the plan here is they've got to initiate the Encephalon. It's almost like they are creating a virtual version of the subconscious of KOS-MOS
that can be experienced, right?
That they can like walk through. So they're in essence walking through a dream of KOS-MOS while she is asleep in
she's asleep. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
And the question, I guess, is that Shion has her little PS2 controller. Why can't she just kind of scrub through the data, find that file, and then take it? Why do they have to go
into KOS-MOS's subconscious to get it?
I'm not complaining. It's really cool.
Awesome.
It's the Matrix. It's so cool.
I just want to know why it was necessary to do this to get the data they wanted. Why can't they just pull out a memory card? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I feel like it's so far into like the core of her subconscious or whatever that maybe it's not accessible from outside.
Is this part of AAA encryption? Like you can't just like take the hardware and like go hack it. You have to actually like go into the subconscious of to grab it. The person. Well, but that wouldn't work for anyone other than KOS-MOS because KOS-MOS is like a robot person. Yeah. What about like AAA encryption on a computer in this world? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, I feel like because like apparently there's only like this KOS-MOS and there's like the UMN's headquarters is the only other one with AAA encryption. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's almost at least part of this. Golly, later on you see something similar to this happening with Albedo. A bit later on, it's almost as if there's a certain way of reading memories that you experience them. Like you can't just read it like data. You have to like experience it.
So like the raw data, let's say, is nonsense, but it can be sort of taken and displayed in a way in which it's understandable or comprehensible. It's almost
something
like
like
you have
that.
To walk through the data. Like
in which case, it's not ones and zeros. It's not letters. It's not like code. It's a whole
another
thing,
type of
and
record.
that's why it can't be tampered with, right? It's just raw data, but not data. It's just a raw experience,
like some kind of waveform.
It's something like that. But
Okay,
but it's not like digital. Anyways,
so
that's
here's
what
an
I got.
example, everybody watching, in which I didn't put this note. I don't know why they have to do this. This came up on the spot.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go to the database for next week, and I'll come back with an answer unless someone in the comments has it on hand and feels like giving it to me.
Of course.
Yeah, I wish I knew more of the details, but like, yeah.
So there you go. I just came up with this question now. I didn't have it in the notes, just so you know. I didn't ignore the database.
Yeah.
Okay. The point here is they're going to go into, and I just want to bring back up that Momo earlier when Shion was giving them the tour of the Elsa, they went down to the maintenance lab of the Elsa where KOS-MOS was sleeping, and Momo said, I wonder if she dreams or wonder what she dreams about.
Yes, and I mentioned that's like profound. Yeah.
It's the whole anyways. I'm not going to go into that right now. But that was a plant, I think, for this scene.
Interesting.
Because now we're essentially exploring the unconscious, I'll put it that way instead of the subconscious, the unconscious of KOS-MOS.
Sure.
And there's going to be a lot of, I think, collective unconscious stuff riddled all through this.
Yes.
As well as a lot of the alchemy that we've been talking about. All of that we've talked about is leading up to this. This is like the critical moment in which like the themes of the game are expounded on and shown like they're completely like exposed or like laid bare for us to sort of examine and analyze.
Yeah.
So they are going into KOS-MOS's unconscious in this sequence.
Yeah.
And they weren't expecting that.
No. And it's kind of like a drug trip when it happens. Everything just stretches and everything, like the room gets smaller and smaller and smaller and everything just kind of like fades away. I don't think they were all expecting to be pulled into it, which is interesting.
No, they weren't.
When you see the unconscious, it's basically made up of their own memories and experiences.
Right.
Yeah. Which means that
specifically it's Shion and Junior.
Shion and Junior.
Not the other people.
Oh, that's true.
Shion and Junior. We don't see Alan's.
There's an explanation for that.
We don't see Momo's. Yeah. It's Shion and Alan's, Shion and Junior's memories that we are seeing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that goes into KOS-MOS somehow, but KOS-MOS is able to intuit. She's able to like take people's memories and make them into her own. She kind of like crafts them within herself, or she like absorbs them in some way, right? It makes sense that the Unus Mundus is the only other one with this level of encryption. It's almost like it's not encryption at all. It's just the Jungian collective unconscious and what has access to that.
That's exactly what I
Unus Mundus is a Jungian reference, directly a Jungian reference. And so they have access to that.
Yes.
And then KOS-MOS is able to read like the grassroots, like the very bottom of everyone's subconscious and kind of like do something with it. It's really cool.
For the people who have not seen our Xenogears podcast, we should probably take just a moment to not even nearly as thoroughly explain what the collective unconscious is.
Right.
Just so that people are on the same page. Like, who wants to take that assignment?
I'm always down for it. I'm always down to talk about Jung.
I feel like you're the one who would be,
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so Carl Jung, the greatest man. Okay, so Carl Jung took, Sigmund Freud more or less discovered the unconscious, right? And he kind of divided it between the id, the ego, and the superego, right? So you've got your superego, which is like your culture, it's your father, it's the do this or you'll be in trouble. Oh, I better not do that, otherwise I'll get in trouble. That's the part of your mind that kind of imposes over the natural mind, which is the id, which is just your instinctual behavior, whatever you want to do. And the ego is the I, it's the me, it's the myself that gets to choose whether or not I follow the superego and do the right appropriate things or follow the id and do whatever I want, regardless of what society thinks. Well, Carl Jung comes in and he has a different take on this. He says, I agree with the ego and that the ego is kind of doing something like that, but he splits it up a little differently. He talks about your unconscious, which is just like, the hidden parts of yourself, and it's all mingled about with like there's no great separation. More or less the culture would be like your persona, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you wear, but it's not who you really are. But then like when it comes to the id, when it comes to the raw, like natural human, that's just like evolutionarily, right? That's just got data from 3 billion years of survival, being genes passed along for so long until it becomes something along the lines of a conscious being that then continues passing along its genes until it becomes like a human, right? So we've got at least tens of millions of like years worth of, like, here's one good example. The human mind is more afraid of a snake than a gun.
Right.
We don't really see snakes much anymore in the modern world, right? We would see a gun or a knife a lot more common. But if you ever are walking down the sidewalk and you see something that looks like a snake, your brain will jump before you have even registered what you saw.
100%. We used to go film out in the woods a lot. I was recently at like a campsite for like a work getaway thing. And 2 times I remember specifically in the kind of the deep woods coming across a snake on the ground.
Nice.
And that is, you can't control it. It's just like an immediate initial reaction to seeing, you jump away.
Yes.
And the theory here is that this is programmed into your DNA over like, millions and millions of years.
Pre-programmed. It's you're afraid of a snake because your great 1,000 times over ancestor was afraid of snakes.
Right.
And that's why you are afraid of snakes despite never really having to deal with them in your everyday life.
Right.
Like that's crazy. It's so ingrained, right? So you can imagine that something along the lines of like a story or things that resonated with your great ancestors. And then you and I and TJ, we would all probably share the same great ancestor going back. It's likely the same memory that just kind of split up from that same ancestor and then propagated amongst the humans that then passed on the memes, so to speak, but that slowly become genetically encoded, right? Yes. I don't want to have to explain what a meme is now, but it's not just a picture with words.
Watch the podcast we did on Metal Gear Solid.
Memes are just memories that propagate like genes throughout history, right? Okay, so anyways, the idea of the collective unconscious is that we all have this shared experience going back as humanity, going back millions of years, and that we all cared about the same kinds of things and we all thought the similar thoughts and we were all scared of the same things, right? And that now here we are all separate and I think I'm my own person and I have nothing to do with you. But it's like there's this link between us that we can't see that contains like memories and experiences of our ancestors that slowly creep up in our subconscious that sometimes manifest into our conscious mind as like, oh my gosh, that looks like a snake. And it's like, wait, why, like, I've never been bitten by a snake. Like, why do I know to be so afraid of this thing? It's just a little squiggly line in the ground. Oftentimes, it's not even a snake. It's just a garden hose. Or it's just a tree branch.
This is sort of carried over into the nature-nurture debate in science.
Yes,
which parts of our, I don't know what you call it, sort of like behavior are ingrained in us or inherited,
Yeah.
and which parts are learned through social interaction, the values of society and whatnot.
So the collective unconscious is just the collective memories of a whole. It can be a culture, but you can go all the way back and just say all of humanity has some level of this collective like memory stored within our minds that we can all, and that's in part stories. Like go and tell a story to any human in any part of the world, be you separated genetically from them by 1 million years. They're going to be like, dude, that story resonates. That's a sweet story.
Yeah.
Like, just what's up with that?
Yeah.
What's up with that? Why do they have the same idea of the story arc and patterns and what's important and what's frivolous and can be ignored? And what makes a good story is the same for everybody, right? And that's because you're tapping into this, like the collective unconscious. You're tapping into a part of your mind that is connected to everyone else's mind around you. So that's the best I can do.
Yeah. A couple things
in a short time.
I want to add on to that.
Okay.
This goes beyond, of course, as you were just mentioning there at the end, say, survival sort of instincts.
Yes, it goes well beyond that.
It goes
That's why I mentioned
into,
stories.
Yeah, stories or religious practices.
Yes,
because
yes.
the sort of like impetus or the inciting incident of Carl Jung's life that led him to develop this theory was that as a young boy, he, without having any knowledge at all of other cultural, spiritual, or religious practices, he used to carve little figurines in his pencils or in his rulers. He had a ruler or something like that, a school ruler, a piece of wood that he would carve little like I don't know what you'd call them. I don't know how crude or sophisticated they were, but little like statues, maybe we'll call them, images of people or gods or something like that. Not even really knowing why he was doing this. And he would build a shrine to them, and he would give them offerings like stones that he would find.
And he would paint rocks. Yeah, he had these stones. Yeah, one of them that looked kind of like the yin-yang symbol, and that really resonated with him, having never really seen that symbol before.
Yeah.
And then he read the I Ching, which is Chinese, ancient Chinese sort of alchemical text. And he saw some of those things that
Same practices.
Exactly. He was like, wait, I've been carving these things. I've been seeing these visions in my brain. And these people that I have no relation to that are on the other side of the world have those same images in their culture, in their, like memories, I guess. And he's like, how is this possible?
So his attempt to try to understand how that anomaly is possible culminated in this development of what he called the collective unconscious, where when we are even like asleep, basically, we're like connected to this collective sort of like memory of the human species going back all the way back, I guess, even before humans. But
dude, the basic story of light, dark, warm, cold, is 3 billion years old, and that comes again, and then there's a renewal, and the cycle of life, and the cycle of the sun, and the cycle of weather, and of seasons, and of warmth and coolness, and the dark and the light. Like it's been going on for 3 billion years since life existed. Has been experiencing this story over and over. It's so heavily ingrained in the way that like we evolved and the way that we think.
So, with that being said, of course, a good example of other stories that sort of adopt this principle, say the Assassin's Creed series. The entire idea of it is that they enter this machine called the Animus, which is another Carl Jung reference.
Exactly.
And they have the memories of their ancestors carried in their DNA.
Yeah, in their DNA.
So they are able to actually live or relive the memories of their ancestors by this machine, which takes their DNA and can sort of decode that data and make a very Encephalon-like virtual reality
very
experience.
Similar. Yes.
So, anyway, that's the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're coming from with this, and I think it plays a huge role into why everything you see here connects KO-S-MOS to Junior and Shion, why she's able to pull their memories from them and experience them in this sort of VR simulation Encephalon sequence. KO-S-MOS is connected to them through the collective unconscious.
Yes.
Anyways, there's going to be a lot more to that, but we'll try to comment it as we actually get into the scene a bit.
Yes.
Do you want to add anything to that, TJ, before we move on?
Oh my god! No, I think you hit on all the good points.
Okay.
It was very very good. It was a good refresher for me too.
Oh man, I just wish I could talk. I could talk hours about this. But one real quick thing is the Borg. The Borg is like something like the collective unconscious, right?
Everybody,
like they kind of connect.
Everybody is connected.
Something like that. No, this is a Star Trek reference.
It's Star Trek. Basically, there's no individuality in the Borg, and they all sort of.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that the Borg, the concept of the Borg was changed with the films where they have a queen now, and I don't like that.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Originally, there was no like hierarchy. They were all drones, and they would all go into this thing and connect to essentially the Borg network.
Okay,
where
the Unus Mundus,
where they would share all knowledge amongst each other, which is essentially the same idea. When they go to sleep, they connect to the collective unconscious, and there is no hierarchy in this society at all. They're all the same, and they're all connected to the same knowledge, which each individual is sort of like contributing to when they go back and they like connect to the network, if that makes sense. So a similar concept.
Okay, okay. I thought that might help people a little bit.
Okay. Let me get my note to where I want to hear. Okay, so we get a split here in the party. We're going to experience Junior's memories from one side of the party, which is Junior, Ziggy, and Momo are together. The other side is Shion, Alan, and Chaos that are together. That's right, isn't it? The two parties of three?
Yeah. Well, in Shion's case, it's a party of two because Alan's useless and can't fight. But
poor guy.
But technically, he is there. But yes, that's correct.
Cool. Okay.
Way to be, Alan.
So essentially, this is what a lot of JRPG players love. They love the split dungeons where you got to like split your party up and you go this way with these people and this way with these people. It's that type of dungeon, and it's really long.
They're technically two separate dungeons almost, because it's not like they're even exploring the same areas.
Right.
We can maybe skip over all the dungeony things and let's just
I believe we can because I don't think there was a lot in terms of my note-taking during the actual playing of the game. It was basically all in the cutscenes.
Yeah, me too.
So I wanted to check real quick with TJ if you have the same feeling about that.
Yeah, everything that's important in these scenes is just in the cutscenes.
Great.
Okay. So let's get to it. The first scene we see is the last day that Shion spent with her father before he died.
That's right.
I thought this was a really powerful scene, and it really brought in some major mysteries with this girl who has been watching her. We've referred to her as a guardian angel.
Yes.
This is where we learned that she is named Nephilim. Which, as we have talked about, the Song of Nephilim being this thing that even Margulis is like not necessarily comfortable about. Right. So this is the character for which this concept that drives people unto madness comes from. So that was crazy. That's the person watching Shion.
I know what's going on here. And it's this young little girl in a white dress, and she is Nephilim, who, however you want to look at it, I don't know anybody who knows of the Nephilim who would have seen this young little girl in a white dress and been like, oh, Nephilim, that makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Fallen angel, sure. Something like that. We did refer to as a guardian angel. But still, it's just unbelievable.
This character was the last person I was expecting to be Nephilim.
Me too. I was like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? And this is why Song of Nephilim, it's not the Song of the Nephilim. It's just Nephilim is
a
singular
person.
In this case, not in the Hebrew.
Okay, so Shion is looking at herself as a young girl. Her father comes and kind of picks her from a playground. They go walking off together.
Yeah.
And man, there's some great stuff here with Chaos too. Chaos and Nephilim certainly know who each other are.
Because Chaos kind of hangs back for a little bit, right?
Yes.
And then they speak briefly.
So like Nephilim introduces herself. She says her name. Yep. She explains kind of like what's going on right now. You are in the unconscious or subconscious, whatever you want to call it, of KOS-MOS. You're reliving your memories. This is going to be a really difficult thing to face that you're about to, but it's really important that you do it.
Yeah.
These types of sentiments.
And she says that she's been waiting. She's been waiting for Shion. And it's almost like she's been inside of KOS-MOS' mind waiting for Shion to make this connection with KOS-MOS.
Yes. For a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They've been waiting on, or she's been waiting, Nephilim has been waiting on Shion. But the part that really stuck with me is that once Alan and Shion sort of begin to walk off, chaos lingers behind, and Nephilim says some really interesting things to him. Let me get to my notes on that specifically, because it cuts back and forth between Junior, so I got Junior notes. Okay, so we cut back to Shion swinging on the playground with Nephilim. They're kind of talking to each other. So some of the dialogue here. So this really is Milsha, asks Shion. Nephilim says, yes, a world of unbroken memories slumber at the depths of your consciousness. KOS-MOS has sensed this and recreated it.
That's crazy.
This world.
That's crazy.
It is also KOS-MOS's memory as well. Memories do not belong solely to one person, and they are not fixed to just one location. This is the part that, for certain to me, it was screaming collective unconscious.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
These words. It was like, okay, we're in a collective unconscious right now.
And this is funny. I actually I'm kind of regretting the description I just gave of collective unconscious, because I gave it a more of an evolutionary biological understanding. I mean, that also it is. But Jung would also agree with this, that there's this mystical aspect to the collective unconscious as well. That's not just like the provable evolutionary biology. It's like this spiritual connection as well. It's not just the physical.
Right. I thought, though, that line was really good. It is also KOS-MOS's memory as well.
Yeah,
Memories
that's crazy.
do not belong solely to one person. That's like the whole concept of collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Your memories are not just yours. They are shared in the collective unconscious and will be passed on to your descendants, and they'll have access to it and all of that. So, but not even just your ancestors. In this case, also KOS-MOS, who is not a descendant of Shion, obviously. But
no,
I guess in a sense.
Here's the thing, though, because it's like when you create something, you put yourself.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Okay, good. you put yourself into the thing, right? Like if I make a painting, if I make a chair, like there's a part of me that goes into it. Yeah, and it's as Kevin and Shion and whoever else was Alan, I guess. As these people create this, new artificial intelligence, it's going to share some of their, memories. It's going to share. There's going to be a piece of them kind of like put into it as well.
Yeah.
I also need to mention that she was humming Green Sleeves.
Yes. I have that note on that too.
Yeah.
So Green Sleeves is more well known as a Christmas song today.
Yes. What Child Is This?
What Child Is This?
Yeah, that one.
It's become more of
old,
a Christmas religious song about Christ. But it did not. The melody did not start there.
It was long before.
It was Green Leaves. I have a note on that too. I'm kind of all over the place, so I'll try to make sure we cover that. There's some more dialogue I want to jump into, but I want to pass it to TJ because we've been talking forever. Is there anything you want to comment on that we've been talking about so far?
Not anything that you haven't already mentioned. No.
Okay.
So we're going to be pretty thorough.
Because so far it's mostly just like establishing, like you said, the collective unconscious, like setting up. That seems to be what they're setting up here. Who is Nephilim? What's her power? What's her deal? I guess we haven't even started talking about Junior yet, so I'll leave that for now.
That's coming. That's next.
Yeah. So if at any time you want to chime in, just feel free to do so. Because we all have a billion notes here, and it's going to be a mess. But I want to get to everything. So
yes,
if you have something, just please interject. Okay. So we get some more dialogue here. This is huge to the alchemical tie we've kind of been building up for the last, particularly in the last one.
I know what you're going to say,
particularly in the last episode. But this is, just clear as day becomes like the lens through which we are viewing the theme of this game is the alchemy stuff.
Yeah, and it's so cool.
So what Nephilim says here is joyful memories form only one half of the whole, only when they are combined together with the other half, meaning your unpleasant memories, can your consciousness truly take form. You must know, all of you So she's not just talking to Shion, she's talking to everybody. All of you must accept the entirety of your memories. You must return to Milsha once again.
This is giving me, at the risk of spoilers, well, I don't know how much I want to say, because this is giving me major Xenogears vibes, specifically to the end of that
100%.
game. Yeah, I won't say anything more, because
I can't actually intuit exactly where you're going, but this, I do, like specifically, but I do feel the same thing. Like, this feels, this is very Xenogearsy, but it's different enough.
Yeah,
it's different enough.
There's a specific thing I'm thinking of, but I'm not going to say it because it's literally like
okay, please, thank you.
Yeah, so basically, and this is going to come up more and more, Nephilim is trying to get Junior and Shion to examine the parts of their past they want to forget, the unpleasant parts they don't want to face anymore.
Yeah.
The parts they would like to forget, or that they wish they could forget, or that they're ignoring right now because it's too painful to face.
Yes.
And how this relates to the alchemical process is you have to go into that process of self-examination willingly. You have to do it because you're ready and you want to, and it's going to be really painful and really, really hard, but you do it as a choice.
Yeah.
You must do it as a choice. And everything we experience from this point on is basically them doing that, or beginning, not fully, but beginning the process of doing that.
Slowly,
I was going to say that it does not conclude at the end of this, but it's the first step.
Right.
So everyone must accept the entirety of their memories. This is part of the process of self-individuation, and this is all a callback to Carl Jung. But she has to return to Milsha, and she doesn't want to. But I have two quotes, one from Carl Jung, one from Joseph Campbell. So Carl Jung says, "That which you most need will be found where you least want to look."
Yes.
That almost is the theme of this game.
That's basically the theme of this game.
And then Joseph Campbell, who genius, he wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he's great. He's very good with mythology and stuff. He wrote, "The cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek."
Yep. Same idea.
But everyone listening, this isn't just a game. Like, this is real. This is how the world works, and this is how life works, and it's important to face your fears and to really tackle the things that you don't want to forget.
Face,
You have to face your true self and the parts of you that you think that shouldn't be a part of you because they're too evil or something. It's like, no, face that. That is a part of you, but use it as a strength. Use it as overcome it. Subdue it. Don't just ignore it. Right. The idea that where you don't want to go is where you need to go. That's Star Wars. Like, that's
we even talked about
everywhere.
This a great deal in oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the title of the game. The Norse game we played.
Hellblade.
Hellblade.
Yeah.
This is a huge part of Hellblade.
Oh yeah, because she's refusing to enter the darkest part of her mind.
Yes.
She just won't do it, and it's like it's a dragon. It really is a fight with a dragon.
Yes.
And that people call it facing your demons for a reason. Like, it's not just like, oh, demons aren't real. It's like, no, they're freaking real to you, and you better deal with them and take them seriously. Otherwise, they will control you.
We used different terminology in that series, but it's essentially the same concept.
It wasn't as Jungian, I guess.
With that, Xeno games are going to use Jungian terminology, but
it still applies.
In that game, it's about the stages of grief, and landing on acceptance being kind of the final part of that.
Yeah.
And what they're going to have to do here is accept these parts about themselves, their trauma, their past, that they don't want to accept.
Yep.
It's too painful to accept that's true.
I
don't want to believe that yet.
Exactly.
And you have to get to a point of those stages of grief that lead to the acceptance before you can really use that experience as a launching point to become a better version of yourself, to move forward with your life, to become a stronger person. Yeah. You have to face it, accept the reality of it, do whatever it takes to come to terms with it, whatever that experience was, whether you caused the trauma, whether the trauma was caused by someone else to you, whether it was an event, whatever. You've got to come to terms with it, deal with it, face it, resolve it, and if it can't be resolved with the person that was involved,
within yourself,
that it has it happened, and now we're moving on from this.
Right.
that's essentially the idea in different terms than Jung would use, but it's the same idea.
It's the same idea. Yeah, just beautiful. Well put.
So that's what's going to happen here. This is a trial by fire. This is we're putting our souls to the test. Can we accept the things we're about to see?
Well, and I love this too, because you have Shion is very resistant at first. She's like, what? Why do I have to go into my own memories? And then Shion says, you need to do it for KOS-MOS, or do it for those you love, kind of thing. Yeah. And that's when Shion's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do this now. Yes. Like, she wouldn't do it necessarily for herself, but she will do it for those she cares about. She'll do it to help rescue other people. And in the process, she does rescue herself. But either way, she does it willingly, and she's doing it for others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here's where we get to the part I was kind of looking for here with the Chaos Nephilim conversation. Nephilim says to Chaos, are you sure this is what you want? There's no turning back. And this is where I was like, Chaos is... whatever Chaos is... He's a supernatural cosmic level force. That this is not just like a Realian or something like that. This is almost like a piece of, I'll use Xenogears terminology, the wave existence or something. This is this is somebody in that realm. I
like feel. A personified.
That is sort of observing all of this and trying to sort of like push people in the right direction. She's sort of deferring to him in all of this. Nephilim is. Yeah. Is this really what you want? Right. There's no turning back after this process begins. And he says, I know, but Shion is vital to her. Shion is vital to her.
But then also, but Shion is vital to you. Doesn't Nephilim then bring this back,
because Nephilim says,
Chaos?
And to you as well.
And to you as well. Yeah.
And he doesn't answer that. He kind of just leaves that hanging.
Shion is vital to KOS-MOS. KOS-MOS exists. Or sorry, I thought it was KOS-MOS.
Oh, KOS-MOS as well, yes.
But also probably to Chaos. And how in the world that possibly makes sense, I have no idea.
Yes. Go ahead. I know TJ's itching to say something.
Yeah, well, there's not much I can say other than like I will say, like, just because I'm thinking of, like, when you're talking about this, it made me think, like, way distant, end of episode 3. This is setting something up that will not be, that will come into play, directly, like, way at the end of the series. At the end of the just kind of like as sort of like, looking back on it, like thinking like how far ahead, Takahashi, Tanaka, everyone was like planning this out, like from the beginning. They knew where this was going. But like just stuff to keep in mind. Like, what is it that like, obviously Shion and KOS-MOS are connected in some way, but like there seems to be some sort of deeper connection. What's up with that? Why does what does Chaos have the game seems to be implying that Chaos and KOS-MOS have some sort of connection as well, but there's no like very vague hints and like no idea as to what, but this seems to spell it out directly. And obviously Chaos isn't going to say anything.
No,
because that would ruin the plot twist. Chaos, you can't say anything yet. We gotta wait.
the only question is whatever Chaos is doing, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Like, I don't know. That's the question.
That's the part that's hard to parse at this point. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Chaos is the good force. He's the I guess you could say the messenger of the monad, whatever you want to call it.
Hermes.
He's from that realm. He's from the spiritual, pure, good, Gnostic realm.
I see. The Parama.
And he wants what's good. He may even be some sort of piece of whatever that existence is. I don't know. That's my guess at this point.
Okay. So he's higher than everyone and everything that we've seen thus far.
That's my guess.
Well,
Okay.
That's my guess.
based on something that happens later, yes, that is correct. There's something that happens later on, again, with Albedo, but the mysteries with Chaos are not done. But I really question, I don't know if he's good or bad, based on what happens a little bit later on,
I think
after this episode.
I think you've played a little further.
I am almost done with the game. So I'm almost done with the game. I believe.
Okay, so that's enough of the intro there to Shion's side. Let's go back to Junior real quick.
Okay.
So I think he's actually the first. Did we see Shion first, or we see Junior? I think we see Shion first.
I think we see Shion, and then it skips to
first.
Junior.
And then it goes to Junior. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the memory of Junior that we're seeing here, he's with Ziggy and Momo. We said that earlier.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of child soldiers who look like him.
They look just like him.
I think we heard this term earlier from Pellegrini, URTV.
Yes.
These kids
Very
are
briefly,
URTVs.
Yeah.
I believe that Pellegrini referred to Albedo as a URTV.
Yeah,
Albedo,
I think all of them.
She mentioned that Albedo is a URTV and that Albedo is also like a life recycling variant. So
Yes, right.
Yes,
So-
I got some of that there.
transitive property, meaning that whatever the URTVs are, they're all life recycling variants, basically.
Yes.
I gotcha. Okay.
So there's a whole army of kids
Yeah.
that are these life recycling variants. This is happening on Old Mill Show 14 years ago. This memory that he's saying, and the URTVs are massacring all the people.
Yeah.
Right.
There seems to be 3 of them that are not completely crazy. Yeah. I think that Junior mentioned something about what does he say? He says that they have some sort of virus or they're infected or something like that.
Yeah, they're.
I don't have anything.
He says something about
they're all infected.
They're all infected or something like that, right?
And
Something like that.
And I don't remember if you mentioned this, but the URTVs, they all look exactly like Junior.
Yes, they all look the same as him, except that they have blonde hair and he has.
They have blonde hair, yeah, but like their face, their body
face
structure,
looks exactly
everything else,
Yeah. So the 3 that seemed I don't know for sure if Albedo is uninfected. He may be infected just with something else. I don't know.
He's got something. He's got a virus of the mind.
The 3 of them are different from the other URTVs in the scene. They still have some form of, I don't know, autonomy, or they're not involved in this massacre per se.
Right.
It seems. At least for sure not Gagnon and Junior. Which we now learned that Junior's name was Rubedo at this point.
Rubido, yeah.
Rubido.
Oh yeah, that's where we hear them. Somebody shouts out his name or something, and that it's Rubido.
So we're gonna get a lot of Negredo, Albedo, Rubido, the 3 of them in this scene here. So he begins to search. I should say Rubido begins searching for his friend Negredo. At this point,
which would be Gagnon.
Yeah, which would be Gagnon. He's trying to find out where he's at. So that's kind of like the intro to Junior's scene. He's very upset by seeing all this again. He does not want to look at it.
He's not happy. And then Alan will ask questions, and he's just like clenching his fists and just like, what? Like, what's wrong with you? Stop talking to me. He's
lashing out at Momo, which is not something you would expect of him. He's lashing out at Ziggy. He's lashing out a lot. He does not want to be here. He does not want to look at this. He does not want to face this.
This is a buried memory of his. And this is a buried memory that he would like to keep buried in his past and never dig up. But he has to now, and he's not happy about it.
Yeah. So, then we go to Shion again for some of the stuff we were talking about. We come back to Junior. They're watching as these URTV kids are murdering people. This is where he says they've all been infected. Let's see. We see Gagnon as a kid. So the kid form of him, black hair, right? Let's see. So we're seeing Gagnon here. He's the one who seems to be searching. So Junior is observing this. Obviously,
Gagnon is
in the scene
are
not seeing Junior. Like he's sort of living the experience, but like the people in the scene are not like recognizing.
We see Negredo,
But so Negredo Gagnon comes out, and he's looking for Rubido.
Rubido.
Negredo is looking for Rubido. Yeah.
And so he gets confronted by a kid who is clearly albedo, white hair. And we see this kind of confrontation between the two of them. They're like fighting each other, right?
Yeah. And it's like Rubido knows what's going to happen. And it's almost like he wants to stop it from happening. But something terrible is going to happen. And they're in Milcha. I think this is where we see more or less.
Yes,
this is Milcha before it was destroyed 14 years ago, right?
Yeah, this is like the event.
This is the event
in which it disappeared, or when all the Gnosis were brought in. You're like, this is the event that like basically made all this happen.
Yeah.
I also had this note. Sorry, I did skip one thing. We were talking about Shion a second ago. It made me laugh a little bit. So, Shion, for a minute, was confused about this idea that that this could be KOS-MOS's memory at all. Right? She's like, wait a minute, that can't be, because I wrote, she blew KOS-MOS's fetching head off.
Oh my gosh!
2 years ago.
Oh my gosh! That's right. No, I have a note there too, because the notes are all kind of mixed up here now. But oh my gosh, yeah, Shion blew the archetype's head off. It exploded. Intense. Freaking crazy.
She's like, this can't be KOS-MOS's memory. KOS-MOS could not possibly have any memories prior to 2 years ago because I exploded her head off of her body. Which is where Nephilim sort of introduces
like, hey,
the
memories
idea
aren't just
of the collective unconscious, and that's how she has access to them.
And she wrote, Nephilim says, a world of unbroken memories slumber at the depths of your consciousness.
Yeah.
That's freaking beautiful. If you were going to describe the collective unconscious in less words than what I did, that's a way of saying it. A world of unbroken memories that are asleep at the depths of your consciousness.
Yep.
Didn't need me to go on my 10-minute tirade about collective unconscious.
There it is right there. She said it.
It's freaking beautiful, too. I love it.
Okay.
So KOS-MOS memory is a shared memory, and then, gets her head blown off. Oh, crazy. And it was bloody, too. It was intense.
It was extremely violent.
Man.
Decapitation. I guess it's not really decapitation. Head exploding, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now as you're playing through the sequence, Shion comes across this rabbit mascot that we've sort of been commenting on in the emails and stuff, right?
I still don't know what's up with this bunny, but
is there something about it?
I have never trusted this bunny from the moment I first saw it. I was like, this jacked up bunny, what is it doing?
Something's wrong with this
Why
thing.
does it exist? We're seeing we're seeing like crumbled statues of this bunny.
Yeah.
We're seeing a live bunny running around.
That part where you have to chase it around, did you actually get to it and it turns its face around and it has a different face on the back of its head?
No, I think it was in the house. I don't think I actually caught it.
Yeah,
no.
So if you catch up to it, you actually get it. It turns around, it has a really disturbing face on the other side of its head.
Dude, I knew it. I knew it.
TJ, is there anything you want to comment on in regards to this rabbit that you think should be brought up now?
Well, it represents Unus Mundus, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I can't say anything right now.
Great. Except that it's evil.
Okay. Except that, not what it seems.
Yeah. Well, it's at least two-faced. I don't know if it's purely evil.
That's good symbolism.
But there's one side of it that is dark and the other side that is not.
I see. Okay.
So I took note of the fact that it has two faces. I think that's important, but we shall see, I suppose. But you come across the statue. It's fallen.
Yeah, that's like broken.
It was the mascot of the park where it was erected or whatever. But then there's like a mini game you play later where you have to try to like catch the rabbit. Yeah. And anyways, you go into a little house where it's at, and it talks to you there, and that's where you see the other side of its head.
Okay.
And
right.
It's crazy.
Well,
so I guess we'll just leave that where that's at for now.
Yeah, not happy with that bunny.
Okay, so this is where we're going to leave off for today's episode. We're going to carry on to the end of the Encephalon Dive as the next episode. Basically, next episode will be entirely dedicated to finishing off this sequence. However, TJ does have to leave now while Kason and I are going to continue recording. So we want to give a send-off to you. Thank you for joining us. We'll have you on again before the end of the series. Is there anything else you'd like to add to what we've been talking about before you take off?
Let me see. Let me pull. I've had my script open for.
You may color our perceptions of this upcoming episode.
Anything even about that.
Prepare us.
No, I think you guys have done a really good job, like, focusing so much on like the, like these are all very, Shion and Junior especially are all very, very broken people in their own ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if anything, and we don't even know, like, at this point in the game and in the series whatsoever, we don't really know like what the biggest threats are, but they're going to all have to do like a lot of work to get to that point, and it's not going to be a straightforward, they're going to do this trial, they're going to get through this thing, and then everything's going to be good, and then they're going to save the world. It's not going to be that straightforward.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of,
as it never is, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of
it would
people
be if this was the end, but we've got 2 more episodes,
right.
2 more games.
There's going to be a lot of like take 1 step forward and maybe like 5 or 6 steps back. It's going to be like, it's going to be
a process.
It's a long process. Yeah.
Okay. Can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate you being on with us. And as for everyone else, thank you for joining us. We will finish the Encephalon Dive sequence next week. Until then, have a great week and peace out.
See ya.
All right. Bye.